I'm Ellen Upp. I'm an elementary education major here at Stetson University. Today I will be presenting my concept map and V-diagram on my senior research topic, which is treating students equitably while implementing inclusion. First, I will explain my concept map. In my research, I found that inclusion has both strengths and weaknesses. First, I will address the strengths. One strength of inclusion is accountability. Accountability simply means that teachers and school administrators are held accountable for the success of all students, both disabled and non-disabled. They are accountable for setting high standards and promoting academic and social growth amongst all students. In an inclusive setting, students with disabilities can strive to meet these high standards set for them, and they can experience academic and social growth when placed in a setting with their non-disabled peers. These strengths lead to another one, confronting ableism. Ableism can be defined as society's pervasive negative attitude toward disability. In an inclusive setting, students can overcome ableist feelings by realizing that disability is a natural aspect of life. Inclusion has its weaknesses as well, such as assessment. Assessment is often unfair because students are assessed equally rather than equitably as they should be. Often disabled students are labeled as scapegoats for school's failure to meet adequate yearly progress. These weaknesses are portrayed by No Child Left Behind, which is a weakness in itself because it is impractical to think that no child will be left behind in education. The best way to resolve these complexities of inclusion is to treat students equitably rather than equally. I'm going to explain my V-diagram on inclusion. My focused question is, what are the strengths and weaknesses of inclusion? My event is defining and assessing inclusion of students with disabilities. I did this by extensive research of the literature and by doing field experience in the form of interviewing teachers who practice inclusion in their classrooms. The key concepts are strengths and weaknesses, accountability, standards, academic and social growth, ableism, assessment, scapegoats, adequate yearly progress, no child left behind, and equitability. My theory is that inclusion of students with disabilities in the regular education classroom invokes a combination of benefits and detriments to the overall success of everyone involved. My principles are that the strengths of inclusion include setting high standards for students with disabilities, emphasizing accountability, promoting academic and social growth for all students, and confronting ableism. Weaknesses include inconsistencies of No Child Left Behind stipulations, using disabled students as scapegoats for failure, and flaws with assessment and measuring adequate yearly progress. My value claim is that inclusion of students with disabilities should be monitored so that all students, both disabled and non-disabled, are treated equitably. My knowledge claims that I found from the research is that both disabled and non-disabled students can benefit from inclusive education, both academically and socially, when all students receive equitable treatment. My records that support these findings are quotes from the research and from teachers. One fourth grade teacher in an inclusive classroom says, "Including students with disabilities is a good way to teach children tolerance and kindness." Another fourth grade teacher who practices inclusion in her classroom said, "I like the push-in model, where the student spends most of the day with the general education teacher. A resource teacher pushes in to help with instruction." And Thomas Eyre says, "Inclusion gives students the education they need to compete and demonstrates to non-disabled students that disability is a natural aspect of life. Thomas Ayer researched Confronting Ableism. And I found that these complexities of inclusion can be best resolved by treating all students equitably in an inclusive setting.